There were two big news items that came out of USL League One this past week, and here to talk about them tonight, we welcome Kaylor Hodges from the USL Show, making his first appearance here on Fort Wayne Footy. And Fort Wayne has their next All-American high school soccer player. All of that and more right after this. This episode of Fort Wayne Footy is brought to you by OmniSource, one of America's largest processors, distributors, and managers of scrap and secondary metals based right here in Fort Wayne. Check out their services at omnisource.com. Fort Wayne Footy is also brought to you by LaserX, the Midwest's largest laser tag and arcade. They specialize in birthday parties, corporate team building, youth groups, sports teams, and family entertainment. You can find them at laserxfw.com. That's laser with a Z. And if you get over there, be sure to tell them Fort Wayne Footy sent you. Hey, Fort Wayne, and welcome to another episode of Fort Wayne Footy. We're excited. We've got a good show tonight lined up with some great news from USL 1. With the schedule, at least home openers coming out. We've got some news on local soccer coming up, and we have a fantastic guest in Kaylor Hodges from the USL Show. If you haven't seen it, be sure to look them up. We'll talk a little bit more about that later in the show as Kaylor comes on around 9:15 and talks about their show, and we'll talk about all the fun news around USL this week. Let's welcome in our host tonight. My name's Brian, as always. That's always my name, and I'm always here. And we've got Micah and Paul tonight. How you guys doing? Micah, I'll kick it to you first, man. How are you feeling tonight?
Doing great. Excited to be here. Excited for the show. We're going to talk a lot about USL 1. I think it'll be very educational for me and a lot of our fans out there. So excited to talk to Kaylor.
Yeah. Survived the cold weather up here in Fort Wayne. Like, it was bitter today.
Yeah. So I went out to the Tin Cap Stadium to see all the holiday lights or whatever. And it sounded like a great idea. Once we got out there, I was absolutely miserable and just waiting for us to get into the nice warm car. But my wife enjoyed it, and that's all that really matters.
So my staff Christmas party last year, we ate downtown together, and then we were going to the lights at the Parkview Field, and it was like weather like today, and we all decided this is stupid, we're not doing it, we'll just come back on our own time. Right. And you made it happen, so good for you, man. Good for you. Paul, how are you tonight, man? Welcome back to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me back. I was off last week, but I used some of that time. My family and I enjoy watching the NCAA women's soccer tournament, so there were some really good games that didn't disappoint. So that's kind of what I did in my spare time last week.
Yeah. It's always fun. Like, love having everybody on the show, right? We've got 3 other folks in Autumn. No, we did not fire Autumn. Some of you are going to ask, but no. So we just have a rotating cast of hosts, and I wish we could get everybody on every night. But it's always good to have y'all when you can join us tonight.
Yeah. Dustin had a big weekend. He mentioned last week that he had a graduation he was walking at. So big shout out to Dustin Diller.
The soccer doctor.
Dr. Diller.
The soccer doctor now.
The soccer doctor. That's what we're going to call him now.
I'm not sure if it was a PhD in soccer, but
it doesn't matter. On our show, he's the soccer doctor. So we're going to roll with that. I'm glad you mentioned that, man. I meant to bring that up and forgot. So thank you. That's why we have all sorts of good hosts on here, because sometimes we just forget things. So we're going to get to some USL news here in a few minutes, but there is some local soccer happening that we would be remiss not to talk about. So, Paul, I'm going to kick it to you to tell us about the local soccer scene right now.
Yeah, not a whole bunch going on. We know high school's done, college is done, USL is kind of done, but the one local team we do have playing on a regular basis is our Major League indoor soccer team, the Summit City Sentinels. We talked about them a couple times. We covered their home opener a month plus ago. They've since had 2 games, so now they're 3 games deep. Unfortunately, they've lost all 3, but the last 2 have been really tight. But I wanted to remind you guys that they will be back in town this Saturday. I believe it's 7 or 8 p.m. game up there at this City Classic Center. So come check them out. It's a fun, high energy game. I also want to give a quick shout out to, there's obviously local players, but a lot of like high school boys who are on that team are seeing action now that they're into their season. Lane Snyder's got a bunch, Landon Wells, Jade Medina, and even Jack Seiger. I think he played a full quarter when they're out in Rockford a couple weeks ago. So that's really cool.
Wow.
See some of our younger high school boys playing on that professional level indoor team.
Yeah. And even some other high school players practicing with their second team that's going to get some games here in January, which is a lot of fun. Seeing that the mix of players like adult professionals with, high school juniors and seniors playing at that level, which is a ton of fun. Good shout out there. I will say this too, like there is a quality team of people that are live streaming the Summit City Sentinels games this year. And so if it all goes well and it's a great live stream, Fort Wayne Footy is doing that. If it's not, it's probably somebody else, right, Paul?
It's a sad gig, that's for sure. We're learning every time we do it, but it's fun. It's something I think we've like I said, it's an adventure. Some stuff we've learned along the way, but it's a fun way to watch the game too.
As we go. That's how it is. There is some other high school news. I teased at the top of the show another Fort Wayne's next All-American high school player. And Paul, tell us about that one.
Yeah, last week, I know high school's done, but there's a couple of awards that have been trickling out through United Soccer Coaches does their awards where they hand out the All-Americans and such to the college level. We talked about the all-region players they got awarded locally for high school. And just this past week, very, very happy to announce my daughter, who's a junior at Homestead, was voted an All-American for high school. So, we're super proud of her. She's worked really hard at it, so it's a really cool accomplishment. That gets them an invite to a ceremony in Philadelphia mid-January. So, like the high school and college players who all got those honors will get to walk up there and receive their awards if they're able to make it.
Very nice. Very nice. Which means, Micah, that you have 1 year left to play against Audrey at Concordia.
Yeah. So there's a reason why I intentionally don't schedule Homestead. So maybe after Audrey graduates, and then we might look into it. But we're staying away from them for at least one more year.
Yeah. No, it just highlights the level of play here. She's the next in line All-American. Like the one previous to her was Amelia White, who's playing at Penn State right now. And we actually reached out to her hoping to get her here on the show to talk a little bit, add to our player development series that we just finished a few weeks ago to talk about what it's like as a player moving through all the levels that we talked about. And so we'll try and reach out to Amelia again, see if we can get her here on the show. But we'll get to talk to Audrey at some point too, I hope, here on Fort Wayne Footy and highlight that. So, all right, that'll do it for our local soccer news, at least below USL 1 level local soccer news. There'll be more to talk about coming up. With Fort Wayne FC, along with all the other USL 1 teams, there was the schedule release, at least the home openers, just this last week. And that's the first bit of information that we want to talk about tonight. We'll bring Kaylor on here in a few minutes to talk a little bit more about that and the history of the league a little bit, with all this news that's breaking. Justin Cohn from the team, the communications director, was on our show last week. If you got to see that, he talked about news beginning to break here. He expects in the next 2 weeks with some news around Fort Wayne FC. So we are eagerly anticipating and waiting for that. But the news that did break this week is USL 1 released the schedule of all the teams' home openers. And Fort Wayne FC is kind of late, May 2nd, but we're not the latest. Forward Madison doesn't start to play at home until May 29th. I believe there's a turf repair or turf project that they're putting in new turf there at their field that's going to set their home opener back a little bit. But Fort Wayne FC is going to be part of 3 of these home openers. Obviously, one at home. They're going to travel. Their first match is going to be March 7th at FC Naples as they open their season at home, and then April 11th against Chattanooga Red Wolves FC. Fort Wayne FC is going to play down there for their home opener. Want to talk a little bit, let's give our audience a little bit of background on USL 1, at least the current state of USL One, and we'll talk about again a little bit more of the history of it when we bring Kaylor on here in a few minutes. So let me share. If you're watching the show tonight, just watch the screen. We've got some graphics here. If you're listening later in the week, we did post this on Patreon. So all these maps and graphics that we'll share here tonight, you can see on Patreon. There's actually a little QR code there in the corner of the screen if you're interested in joining us on Patreon. We do have a free tier. We've got paid tiers, and we have one-time donations if you're interested in supporting what we do here at Fort Wayne Footy. Check that out. But let me bring up these maps here. So this was, I'm a little bit ahead of myself. Let me go back here. This map here is the map of USL League One. These were put together by Jason Hemsoth, who is a listener here in Fort Wayne, put together some maps and sent them to me and said, hey, if you guys can use these, go for it. So thank you, Jason, for your graphic work and providing that for us here on the show. But this was as of November 13th. This is the map of USL League One, November 13th of 2025. Looking ahead at 2026, there's 20 clubs on this map. And since November 13th, we talked a little bit last week that 2 teams have delayed their start in USL One. From 2026, they're pushing back as of now to 2027. And there still is all signs and everything we hear, they're pointing to that being the case in 2027. So Sporting Cascades up in the Northwest, and then Fort Lauderdale United in the Southeast there are delaying. So now we're down in 2026 with 18 clubs in USL League One. We're excited maybe in the next week or two. We're not quite sure. Justin kind of teased the schedule release. I think they're still working out some details here of who is going to be visiting Fort Wayne and where Fort Wayne is going to be traveling next year for in each of these 18 cities. Which means, right, with 18 clubs this year, 2027, the plan was Sporting Cascades, Fort Lauderdale United are already part of the scene in USL One. 2 teams would be added: Rodeo FC here in North Texas, and then Fort St. Lucie in South Florida, just north of Fort Lauderdale, would be joining. Now, still 22 clubs, but Sporting Cascades is starting, and Fort Lauderdale United starting up in 2027. So, lots of movement in USL League One. And if you remember, we talked about it on the show. Texoma FC was part of League One. They have since relegated themselves, for lack of another term, back down to USL League Two. And Rodeo FC, I think they're partnering for this team in USL One. So a lot of movement in USL League One here just in the last couple of weeks. I know things have been going on for quite some time up in Sporting Cascades and Fort Lauderdale areas with these teams, but it was just made known and made public here recently. So that's the layout, the landscape of USL One currently. And as you can tell, with a lot of movement, there's been a lot of movement over the last couple of years as well. And to talk more about that, we're going to bring in Kaylor Hodges of the USL Show right now. Kaylor, welcome to Fort Wayne Footy. Good to have you here, man.
Hey, it's always a blast to talk USL, always a blast to talk soccer. I'm always down to do it. And I have been really enjoying just kind of watching you guys so far. So, since this is done, I'll probably just keep chilling and watching, I guess. But yeah, it's been an absolute blast so far.
Yeah, and I've appreciated your show. USL One is new to us here in Fort Wayne. We're familiar with USL Two, and I know you guys talk about USL Two, and I know you're deeply invested in USL Two from what we talked about. But it's a new league for us here in Fort Wayne, and so what we've been learning from USL Show and other shows like yours specifically, is just a lot of good information about teams that are coming to town, teams that we'll be traveling to see this next year. And so we appreciate what you guys do and glad to have you on the show tonight. Tell us, before we get too deep into the soccer talk, tell us about yourself, tell us about your show a little bit and how long you've been part of it.
Okay, so myself, Kaylor Hodges, I have been doing the USL Show since 2021. I believe that was the year, somewhere in there. But the USL show has been around since 2016. And we kind of took over. There's been a 1.0, a 2.0, and we kind of consider ourselves a 2.5. But it has just been kind of handed off to new hands, and it has seen the evolution of the league from USL Pro all the way to the championship, and then adding in League One, and then the PDL becomes League Two. We saw the W League show up, then disappear, then it has reappeared. The Super League was once a Division II league, and now it's a Division I league. It's all mass chaos, but we've been around for the whole ride. And it's been really cool to see the growth of the league. What kind of comes of it. Of course, we talk about the problems. They don't pay us anything, so we can kind of say whatever we want, and we do. And then we have to kind of hear about it from other times, because it's like, hey, we heard what you said, and we're always like, oh God, like, you listen. So it's always interesting how that works. But yeah, we've been around for a long time doing our thing. Alex Ashton is League One updater. So if you're new to the League One scene, he does everything League One. John Morrissey is USL Tactics on all socials except for Instagram, and he does everything. He's awesome. Phil Baki's been around a long time doing his thing. Ryan Allen has been around since early Hammerheads. He was on the original USL show, and if you need a weird stat for something, he has it for you. So if Fort Wayne goes without scoring for a long time, I promise you he'll put it into Lord of the Rings terms for you if you didn't understand how bad it was before. So you have that to look forward to.
Well, hopefully we don't have that to look forward to with Fort Wayne's style of play. Hopefully they're on the attack more than not. But looking forward to hearing the stats that come out.
That's for dang sure.
Yeah, for sure. So a little bit about USL show. Appreciate you sharing that. I just encourage, if you're listening here in Fort Wayne and you've got questions about the league, want to learn about the league, check out the USL show. They're just at the USL show on YouTube. You guys on Facebook and Instagram and everywhere else too, I imagine. Yeah.
We exist on Facebook, but I forget to post things there because I don't have Facebook downloaded. So
Okay.
it's there. But yeah, we do have Instagram. And we also have Kit Season, who is very active on Instagram. So if you're into the fashion of soccer, they have you for literally everything. And that's on socials.
Yeah. I talked to someone from Kit Season. I forget which who it was, about possibly doing a show when Fort Wayne FC releases their kits. Hopefully soon. That was news. It was teased. We don't need to get too far into that. I don't know when. Well, Kaylor, I want to just get into a little bit of the history of USL One, USL in general, but USL One specifically, because the team, the league started in 2019. Is that correct? USL League One as it stands now.
Yes, it's convoluted. League One started in 2019. However, when it was USL Pro, it was a Division III league. So the people based in Fort Wayne will know about the rise of FC Cincinnati, all the stuff that they did when they beat Chicago Fire, they beat the Crew, all that kind of stuff in the US Open Cup. They were a Division III team. So those are Division III clubs at the time. And then a lot of those teams got pulled up into the USL Championship, which is now Division II. And when League One came along, some of them self-relegated into League One back to Division III, where they were a little bit more comfortable, a la someone like the Richmond Kickers. But after that, they've been around since 2019. And at that point, it was half independent club, half MLS team before MLS Next happened, and then the MLS Exodus happened. And it's become a lot different of a League One has, but a lot more competitive and a lot more fun to consume. And I don't want to get ahead of anything that I know you're going to bring it up, but a lot of the turmoil that you saw in League One of like, look at how many teams have disappeared from this team. It's because it was Inter Miami 2. It was New England 2. It was every 2 team that you can think of they just left and went to MLS Next Pro. So it doesn't look it's not actually as tumultuous as you would see when you look at this team left the league, kind of. Sorta.
Yeah, and you alluded to it. I was going to get to that. That there were 10 teams that started in 2019 in League One. 5 of those original 10 are in it, and as you mentioned, there were several MLS2 teams that were part of it that started it and moved out. There were 14 teams in 2025 this last season, and they're expanding up to 18 teams in 2026. Now, we talked a little bit about that earlier in the show. I showed the maps and all of that. At one point, it was 21. So a jump from 14 teams to 21 teams seems like a big jump in a single season. Again, Texoma's out, Sporting Cascades, and Fort Lauderdale would knock it down to 18. So we're 14 jump. Been a lot of news happening just with these new teams. Like I know Fort Wayne, we're really excited here, but with, the speculation of, when Fort Lauderdale went out, there were rumors that there might be another one coming, and it was kind of quietly announced. Sporting Cascades. Like, what do you make of the shifting, like just the recent moves in USL 1?
I always tell people when it comes to the USL, do not believe a single team is going to exist until a player is signed. They don't exist until a player is signed. They may have logos. Do you remember Santa Barbara? They still exist allegedly. The Santa Barbara Sky have a logo. They have a place they're going to play. They've been coming next year for 5 years or something. They've been doing this song and dance for a while, maybe not 5 years, but close to it. Don't believe a single thing that's going to happen until a player is signed. And even then, Texoma pushed it last year. They had like 10 players going into match week 1, and they were pushing it to the absolute limit of what I'm willing to believe is existing. I don't believe any team exists until they play a second on the field at this point. And that's not saying that these projects shouldn't be believed or that these are not real clubs. But I would also say that teams like Fort Wayne, they are going to have a little bit more trust about them because they have already been playing in League 2. Look at someone like One Knox or even Tormenta, who came up through PDL, now League 2, now going up into League 1. Cascade should have had that kind of trust considering they were Lane United, but that's a whole different story. It's still a solid enough class for me that I feel confident about what's happening. Fort Lauderdale, I think, is just going to keep kicking the can down the road until Division 1 or a championship spot opens up for them, but that's just pure speculation on my part.
Interesting. I know they talked about in their press release just about building up more of a solid foundation with their men's side than as I have with their youth and their women's side. So hopefully that's the case. Like, don't want to see them go away, but looking forward to seeing how they bounce back from this. Because what is it about? Maybe it's all speculation here, and so we don't need to get too deep into it if you don't want to. But because it's new to us, what is it about USL 1 specifically that teams are eager to jump in, make an announcement, and then it seems a little bit more okay to be like, we weren't quite ready. Last week we speculated like it's an exciting thing. USL's growing. There's a lot of things a part of it. If we don't jump in now, it might be too late. Or is this just something with USL that's been the history of it in its short time?
I think League One it's a USL problem. It's something that if you've ever listened to the USL show, if you listen for 2 weeks, one of us will say, and I quote, the USL loves to announce crap. It's their favorite thing. They love announcements. There's nothing they love more than to say, we're coming to your city, maybe. So like they love to announce things. League One is a little bit weird in this. I say weird. It's a lower cost of entry than the championship is. The literal expansion fee is less. So it's a little bit easier for someone to say, hey, I'll pony up a little bit of money if you want to make the announcement. We'll figure it out. And then they'll kick the can down a little bit. They'll kick the can down because they'll get into the fraternity basically, and then they'll wait and push their luck a little bit. Look at Santa Barbara Sky. I alluded to them earlier. They were a League One team, and they said, we'll join next year. We'll join next year. We'll join next year. Actually, we're buying the franchise rights from Memphis 901 FC. Memphis 901 FC is going to close doors, and we are buying their franchise rights from them to be a championship club. They were just kind of buying their time to find a way to weasel into the championship. So League One has that lower cost of entry, and they're able to get their foot into the door. Because at that point, they've been vetted as a trusted owner, basically. So it's not like they have to reapply. They just say, we have stuff that fits the standards. And I think that's why League One seems to get a little bit more of this, but the USL just loves to announce crap.
Tyler, with the League Two, it's much more regional, and then maybe one big jump up is now we're a national national product. And I looked at some maps going back to 2024 season, 23 season, and a lot of the teams are concentrated kind of in that southeast region. So it was national, was kind of regional. And over the last couple of years, they've really covered all four corners of the map. Up all the way up in Portland, Maine, down into Naples. So you really couldn't get much farther north, south, east, or west. And I wonder how that's helped or maybe challenged some of these teams as far as having to travel to and from all those different cities.
The biggest one is definitely Spokane. Spokane feels it more than anybody. There's really no one in that Pacific Northwest. There's a ton in League Two, as you mentioned. It's very regional, and especially that Washington, that Oregon, that area is just so condensed with League Two. It's a fantastic soccer scene, but it just hasn't translated to the professional ranks for some reason. Well, it has an MLS, but not at the USL level. And so for them, it's going to be hard. And for teams having to go to Spokane, that's going to be difficult. But places like if you guys, Fort Wayne is on the correct side of the Mississippi, that doesn't hurt them so bad. You have a Jägermeister Cup or the USL Cup now. And you can get a Detroit. That's a 2-hour drive, if that. You can get an Indy 11, which is a 2-hour drive. You can get someone like a Ford Madison, which is not that far. It's on the right side of Wisconsin for you. You can get a Des Moines later down the road. Like the Midwest is very compact. I mean, heck, Pittsburgh is not that bad. There's a lot of teams in that area that you guys won't feel it as much as a Naples will until they get some more Florida teams, or definitely Spokane. The West in general for League One is just barren. So if you're having to go out there for a must-win game, I would be concerned. I'd be worried about it. But you won't have to deal with that as much as those teams will.
Yeah. Mike, you've been quiet. You got anything?
I don't know. We haven't really touched on it yet, but Kaylor, how do you see promotion relegation affecting USL? We're not that familiar with it, so I don't have any knowledge on it. And that's coming supposedly as of now, 2028 season is what they're talking about as of now. Last I heard.
Yes. So with promotion relegation, the one thing that I keep telling people, if you've been around the USL scene, you have seen what's been going on with the CBA on the USL Championship side, pro rel, tri-pro standards, that whole thing that happened during the USL Championship final. The CBA is in a tough spot right now where they're finally starting to really negotiate again. They were making good progress, then things kind of hit a standstill. In order for promotion and relegation to happen, they have to get it signed off by the players, because legally it's a change in labor. It is a change in the workplace environment. So it has to be signed off via CBA because it is a change to their workplace environments. So if they don't get it signed off, it's not going to happen. However, if it does, and we're going to assume that it will because I like to be a positive guy. It's going to happen and everything's good. It'll be Division 1 all the way down to League One. So 3 tiers. It will not go into League 2 as of now. A lot of people will say, well, let's just throw in League 2 in there. League 2, as you guys know, is not a professional league. There are college kids in there. And while Fort Wayne had a surprising amount of seniors who are now graduated or about to graduate very, very soon, them losing eligibility wouldn't be as bad. But there are other teams who were in y'all's region. I think of Kings Hammer Columbus was like young college kids, maybe high schoolers. If they tried to go to the pro rel and got paid, like their eligibility is done. So you're having to deal with colleges. So yes, it would be Division 1 down to League 1, and it would kind of stay in that closed system. That would require the USSF to change some stadium stuff because not everybody can fit that 15,000 seat capacity or 15,000 seat stadium requirement. But we all kind of assume that they'll get those waivers because they've given a waiver for everything. So why would they stop now?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I'm eager to see how that plays out with the CBA. Like, do you anticipate, I know you said you like to be a positive guy, but do you anticipate that happening for the 2028 season, or do you think if it happens, it may be later than that?
Like I said, the USL loves to announce stuff. They originally announced 2027, 2028. It has now been pretty firm 2028. I think that having a year or two of the Division 1 league is going to make Pro Rel happen. I think that 2028 is a good standard for that. I don't think it would go later than 2030. If it's going to happen at all. I think if it gets pushed to 2029 and 2020 and it happens in 2030, I think that's pretty to be expected. If it gets past that, I think it's dead in the water.
Yeah. I want to get into like maybe what that looks like for Fort Wayne here in a few minutes, but I want to get back to like just overall league stuff, and then I want to we'll cut to a break and we'll come back to some Fort Wayne talk. Is Fort Wayne coming into the league here in 2026, right? We talked a little bit about the league expanding so rapidly right now. Some teams are postponing, so it's going to blow up again next year with 4 more teams coming in 2027. In the tumultuous nature of, like I said, what we talked about already with teams in and out, do you see the League One with Division 1 coming in? Do you see League One beginning to stabilize and hitting that mark of these are the number of teams that it is good for us, or will it continue to grow? And with that growth, will there be other announcements that teams are here and now they're not?
I think that League One is going to continue to be kind of the place where everybody kind of gets called up, if that makes sense. Look at someone like a Union Omaha that announced when the stadium is built, we're out of here. Same thing with, I would expect something similar from the Greenville Triumph, where they would get moved up to the championship once their stadium is done, if they want to do so. I don't know why they wouldn't want to, but I assume that's what they would do. I would assume someone like Fort Wayne would be given that opportunity because they fit the championship standards. So I think that League One would end up being it kind of the ground where you get called up to the championship if you have your own stadium and it fits the standards. And then same thing for the championship. If you're a solid club with stability and you want to move up, Pittsburgh, Detroit, Louisville City, Sacramento, et cetera, then yeah, you're good to go. You'll go into Division 1. League 1 teams will fill out the championship, and we'll pick some League 2 teams with good potential to fill out League 1. That's kind of how I see this thing going. And so League One's going to feel like it's topsy-turvy, but it's not because of teams dying. It's teams just kind of getting moved up.
Yeah. And that all back to the other conversation about promotion relegation, that all changes if and when that happens too, because teams will be shifting every season up and down. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a fun time. And I think Fort Wayne's coming into the league at just the right time for something like that, that let's come in, let's make waves as much as we can. We've been a successful USL 2 team, and we're starting at the bottom. If there is promotion relegation, if that gets voted on by the, the Players Association, CBA, like, we're starting at the bottom. There's nowhere but up for Fort Wayne to go. So this is a great time for us to come into the league. Kaylor, if you can stick around for a few more minutes, I want to get into Fort Wayne talk, but I do want to run our mid-roll ads here and thank our sponsors for making all of this possible.
This portion of the show is brought to you by Dead One Pest Control. If you've been looking for a local pest control service in Fort Wayne and surrounding communities, look no further than Dead One Pest Control. They work with both residential and commercial clients to get rid of all types of pests, including those dreaded bed bugs. No job is too big or small for them to handle, so you can count on their capable crew for whatever local pest control service you need. Reach out today to schedule an appointment at deadonepestcontrol.com. And remember, the only good pest is a dead one. And if you're looking for tree service of any kind, including removal, trimming, stump grinding, or landscaping, check out R&T Tree Experts. They work year-round, even through these cold winter months, so you don't have to wait for spring. Just visit their website, fill out their estimate request form, and be sure to tell them Fort Wayne Footy sent you to receive 10% off your service.
All right. We're back with some Fort Wayne FC talk now, moving into the league this season. What are you hearing? I know Fort Wayne's come up a couple times on your show. We definitely tune in for those segments for sure to hear what's happening around the league and what other people are saying. But what do you hear at the USL show from around the league about Fort Wayne?
For sure, the infrastructure that's being built, it's been talked about a lot. We also we have talked to in the past Ollie Gage, who has been, you guys' director of football, and we have talked to him in the past, and he is one of the brilliant minds around the U.S. And when you talk to him, you understand why that he has the pedigree that he does. And so there's a lot of optimism in what Fort Wayne can build. I know for me, I am a big League Two, W League guy. That's where a lot of my love goes to. So there's a lot of things that Fort Wayne already has available to them in terms of a recruiting pool, which I think is great. You guys have had a lot of players who have gone on to be drafted through MLS who are now playing in Next Pro that, you could see players like a Antwi come back. Someone like a Casas could come around and be put on loan. Other players like Riley Lynch, you could definitely see come back because they have that option. Same thing with Wilson. If that's something that they wanted to go to. You could also look at who was just on the League Two roster last year. Oliveira made big waves up in League Two, scored, 3-4 goals, despite only being there for like 3 days. It felt like they were barely around, but there's someone who's graduating and is able to, play professionally. Same thing with Traore. Is a senior this year, can be called up in a year or two if they wanted. Same thing with Thiago Diaz. Same thing with Gaku Nishimura, and the other one was Briscoe. Briscoe is someone who's been on my radar for a while now. He's someone that seems destined to be called up because I think he plays at Butler. Someone called up to Indy 11 or get a shot with Fort Wayne, who is already there. So when you're looking at what's being built already, look at someone like a One Knox who brought up a fair amount of their League Two players, and they were able to run it and be competitive from the jump. Fort Wayne has players who have gone on to MLS, have gone pro, that they can be loaned over if they want a slight step up from just MLS Next Pro. And from there, you can supplement the rest. Ollie Gage is a genius, and he did an amazing job out at Loudoun. And so when you look at what he did in Loudoun, which he admitted was the hardest recruiting job to do in the USL, they were bad, really bad, horribly bad, horrifically bad. And you had to pay DC, like Washington, DC taxes, Washington, DC cost of living, Washington, DC money for everything on a USL contract. It was impossible to recruit. He did it. Now you go somewhere with Fort Wayne, it's more affordable. You'd be more of a local hero, and you would be someone who could have the infrastructure of the new stadium. That's a shiny new toy that a player would want to go to. He can recruit like nobody's business. He's analytically a genius, and everybody around the USL circle is circling Fort Wayne right now, saying this could be a new hot spot based on everything that I just said.
Well, that's exciting for us to hear, right? Like, we know that going in that this could be something. We know the ownership group, we know the front office, and we know, at least from our perspective, they're doing things the right way and doing it in a healthy way, and bringing on someone like Ali Gage that we had on our show previously is a great move. And I do want to say this. I know you guys have some other questions. I just now, like, the comments like just all showed up on my screen. Like, I was wondering why people weren't commenting. We had like 4, and then all of a sudden they're all there. So if we haven't shown your comment and gotten to your comment, we'll try to get to some of these. They just literally popped up on my screen out of nowhere. So we'll throw some of these up there, but I'll let you guys go. I know you guys have some more questions here.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned Briscoe, because his name comes up several times in the chat, just like, hey, what's he been up to? So I'm sure you tickled someone there. Yeah,
his mom watches our show too, so she may be watching tonight and excited you just mentioned him.
Well, Ari's class. He is so good. He's someone that I have just kept an eye on for a while. He is just a class player that I think he's going to get a jump to the professional rank, and people are going to be like, who is this guy? And you should have been paying attention to League Two a long time ago.
Yeah, all good stuff. You can nerd out on with these names and across the league. But I watched one of your episodes going back in October. I don't believe you were on the episode, but your cohort Phil had mentioned when Fort Wayne came up. He had a great little anecdote. He said, I know someone who lives in Fort Wayne, but he doesn't know anything about soccer. And he said, told Phil that we're getting a professional football team or soccer team. And Phil's point was, when those types of people start to get on the radar of these professional teams, that you have something. You're reaching out to a bigger audience than the audience you've already had. So that was a great recognition on his part.
Yeah, and that's something that we've always kind of pointed at, of getting the wider audience who doesn't know. We were at the USL Championship final. We were talking to Candace Brenner, who was the marketing director of FC Tulsa, and she was talking about how all the stuff that they did, all the flames, all the fireworks, the amazing national anthem that happened. Like, if you didn't see it on CBS, she was stunning. Like, it was so good. Everything that she did to make it a big event, like the towels that they had going. She was like, that isn't for the hardcore fan that played in college, that did a trial, for a professional club. That's for the family of 5 who's just looking for something to do on a Saturday, and they saw a championship was in town. And the stuff that you're trying to do to build a fan base is not for the hardcore fan. They'll be there no matter what. Someone who knows the tactics, someone who coaches, someone who knows kids who are on the team, someone who knows everything about the league, they're going to show up. I'm going to keep watching Birmingham Legion matches. Should I? No, they make me sad, but I watch it anyway. But Legion are not trying to recruit me. They're trying to recruit the people who have an 8-year-old who plays soccer, and they're just trying to find something to do on the weekend. So yeah, I'm Phil's spot on of when you have someone who's texting someone else, being like, did you know about this? Did you know about the soccer team in town? That's at least slight interest in going to the first game. And as we all know, once you go to the first one, you're hooked.
Yeah. It's and our first one at home is not going to be till May. So it's going to be a while. They can get that stadium finished, but we're going to talk about that here in a few minutes too, the pros and cons of waiting that long for a home opener for your first time. But we'll get into that here in a few minutes. I did want to ask you, from your perspective, been around USL one quite a bit, right? Fort Wayne FC's part of 3 home openers, right?
Yeah.
Our own, we're in Naples to start the season on March 7th, and April 11th, I believe, we're in Chattanooga for their home opener. Obviously, there's going to be games in between there. These are just the home openers that were announced, but Fort Wayne FC is playing 2 of the top 4 teams in the league from 2025. I know that can change as players move up and down and you sign new players, right? What can fans in Fort Wayne realistically expect, knowing that we haven't signed a player yet that we're aware of, nothing's been announced, in these games against some of these top teams from the previous season?
Just so people know, players have been signed. I just want people to know that it just has not been announced yet.
Right.
There are players. They exist. Before people being like, what? We haven't signed it. Yes, yeah, you have. It's okay. They just take a while because they have registration things that they have to pass through. They have to pass through so much paperwork before they can say we're here. That just so people know.
And Justin told us that a little bit last week too. So good confirmation.
Yes. With Naples, I'm a little bit more intrigued on who they are because they were really, really good and they have been poached a little bit in terms of some of their better players going on to championship level or something like that. Like I'm thinking of specifically Carson Inderlong, who's going back to the championship and is going to Tampa Bay, whom I said was the best signing across any level, across any league, including the Super League. Like he was the best signing that a team has made. Inderlong was ridiculous, but they do like to go to their like 4-2-3-1, where they will have 2 number 6s sit at the midfield. As the season went on, they decided to go more towards Chris Heckenberg as a solo number 6 and kind of played as a pseudo 3-man backline. And he's one of the best in the league. They have one of the best spines in the league. So you look at a Heckenberg, you have a Spangler, who I think is still there. You have a Lalo Delgado, who is one of the better goalkeepers in the league. So you're looking at a team who is defensively really, really, really strong. So for me, if I'm Fort Wayne, I'm a little bit worried about that match. Not because Fort Wayne doesn't have talent, but because as you guys know, you guys have been around coaching for a long time now. All right, whenever you start a season, what's the last thing to happen for a team? It's finishing. Finishing in game situations is always the last thing to come, right? So when you're facing a team who has as solid of a spine as Naples, that's a worry. Same thing with Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a nasty, dirty Brexit football kind of team. Like they are going to play their 4-4-2. They are going to, or a 5-5-4-1, whatever they're feeling that day. They are going to sit deep. They are going to absorb, and then they are going to beat you with a long ball out wide. They're going to cross it in. You're going to lose 1-0 and you're mad. Like that is Chattanooga Red Wolves football right now. And they're well coached. They're a nasty team where they are going to get stuck in. They're going to tackle hard. They're going to make you fed up. In terms of opening matches, I think this was probably the hardest draw for Fort Wayne to get because it's not a wide open, expressive game. These are going to be defensive, dirty games. And I don't mean dirty as in like you're going to get a stud to the chest. I'm saying just like nasty games. Mm-hmm. And I think Fort Wayne fans might get frustrated, be like, well, where's our attack? Where's our strikers? Like, what's going on? Why can't we do anything? These are just really well defensively coached teams. And when you're essentially a new club, because you're not going to be returning all these League Two guys, it's going to be really hard to get off the ground with that.
Mike, I feel like he's speaking your language there with all the coach speak and formation, and that scratch an itch for you a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't wait to get in. And I love the Brexit reference. So appreciate that one. Thank you. I had to chuckle.
It feels like that's Tennessee brand of football. Like Nashville SC and MLS played that for a long time. Sit back, park the bus, and then counter. Get your chance, and they did well with it. And it was frustrating to teams like, as a follower of FC Cincinnati myself, hated going down to Nashville and just playing those defensive, just break through what you can kind of games. They're dirty, they're gross, they're no fun to watch, but if that's how these teams play and they win games that way, like, we got to find a way to break through it, right? So good heads up there for Fort Wayne fans. We know what to expect, at least for two of these matches going in. I want to get onto some other stuff here and get Kaylor out, give him a chance to get to bed here. It's getting late, but Micah, Paul, anything else you guys have for Kaylor while he's here?
I think this has been super informational for a lot of the people here in Fort Wayne, just what to expect. So just appreciate your knowledge that you've been able to share with us.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Tell us again how people can find you.
Yeah, so the USL Show, we go live normally every Tuesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. That doesn't really apply to Fort Wayne people. I don't know why throughout Pacific. It's fine. But that's usually when we go live, unless, we're kind of getting into that weird part of the season where the Super League is going, but we're also kind of waiting for other news. So it might be an every other week kind of thing. But that's where you can find that. And if you would like to follow me, or if you would like to block me, whichever one, at Kaylor Hodges on all social medias.
Awesome. Kaylor, thanks for being here. We've got some new Fort Wayne Footy merch coming out. I'm repping a little bit tonight. Fort Wayne versus USL season 1. We're teasing that. We got more coming, but looking forward to, I just appreciate your knowledge and sharing a little bit about USL 1, and looking forward to seeing what kind of waves Fort Wayne can make this next year. And once we find out who those signings are, man, we'll be in touch. We'll talk with you guys again here soon. So thanks for being here, Kaylor. Appreciate your insight, and we'll let you get back to your normal, regularly scheduled Sunday Night Live.
Before I go, I do want to throw something out there, and I'd hate to do this.
Please do.
Mike Avery is legit. And I hope that Fort Wayne fans don't get too big of eyes saying we need a professional coach for a professional league. Mike Avery is legit. And I think that they are going to be pleasantly surprised with what they get out of him, especially playing the 4-3-3. He loves possession. It's a very expressive brand that's going to translate better to professional ball than it did semi-pro ball. Mm-hmm. I think his game translates really well. So I think that you guys got a great one. Don't get too star-studded of saying, who can we get now that we're pro? You got a great one already there.
Yeah, we know that. We know that Mike Avery is a great guy, great coach, and he's a class act as well. We've talked about that this summer, but he's a class act, and we're excited, at least here on our show, to have Coach Avery back for the professional ranks. So anyway, Kaylor, thanks so much, man. Appreciate having you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Fun interview. Very knowledgeable individual on USL, as you could expect from the USL show. Someone to be. So grateful to have him, and looking forward to, as the season goes next year, maybe connecting with him and the guys at USL show again. I want to talk a little bit about, so we get into some of these home openers, right? Just amongst the three of us here on Fort Wayne Footy. Fort Wayne is opening, big announcement, May 2nd, 2026 at Fort Wayne FC Park. We'll be 2 months into the season at that point. 8 games, I'm guessing, based on, those 8 weeks, right? If we play a game every week, maybe more, I don't know. We'll find that out when the schedule is fully released. Pros and cons. I know it can't be changed, and a lot of that is probably stadium finishing touches, making sure everything's ready for that first impression. That's got to be good, and I think it will be good. But pros and cons of a team starting that late into the season.
May in Indiana is a lot more pleasant than March in Indiana. So we have that going
True
for
story.
us. Yeah. So, bummed that we have to wait another 2 months, but I was honestly not looking forward to, wearing all my parkas and all my gear to watch a match in the beginning of March, which we should not be outside yet at that point. So.
But we are with our kids teams, right? We're out there in
True.
February, December,
December, yeah.
January playing, showcase tournaments.
Yeah. I just hope that a lot of the momentum that we're building now, it doesn't dissipate over those 8 weeks where we're away from the fans, or, it might be tough to stream a match. So we might not get the exposure to the team that I think the club really wants at the very start. But I mean, it does ensure that the stadium will be 100% ready, that we don't have to, play a match at St. Francis or anything like that.
Paul, pros and cons from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it depends on. We talked earlier with Kaylor, like the map is literally getting bigger. All the corners of the U.S. are now covered. Like, how are we? The schedule is not out yet. All we know is the home opener. I think that's
Correct.
the first we've heard of a date and inkling at the stadium's just not going to be 100% by then. So that was a big bit of news there. So hopefully the travel schedule isn't all like West Coast or games like that, or all.
Right.
So you mentioned Naples. So that's pretty far trip. Hopefully this also means that we are getting that grass pitch we wanted, right? Because grass, you can put the sod down and stuff like that. So maybe like we don't want to put down a pitch and have the thing just turn to mud. So
Let it take root for a couple weeks.
Maybe. We want to be nice and ready to go. Yeah.
I don't know if that's been shared officially or not. We speculated last week a little bit on that.
Not confirmed yet.
Yeah, not confirmed quite yet, at least to us. So to your point, Micah, definitely I think the weather will make a difference for a new team, new club in a city that they've been here, right? But it's a new league, it's a big stadium. I think you want to make that big first impression, right? So come to a game when the weather's beautiful, it's not too hot yet, and it's, we're past the coldest days of the winter. We're well into spring at that point, on our way to summer. I think the weather's going to be beautiful, and I think that's going to make a huge difference on first impression for Fort Wayne FC fans, or the casual, family looking for something to do on a random Saturday night, May 2nd, to come and check it out.
Yeah, Kaylor mentioned it. Like, we're going to show up regardless. But, the May, can we get that that recreational family that just needs something to do? And I think May is a lot easier to get that fan than beginning of March, where, it's could very well still be snow on the ground.
And hopefully we've gotten our finishing figured out by then, because he said that's the toughest thing, right? We got eight games away with fewer eyeballs, and then we can show up and be like, all right, we're match fit, we're ready to go, put on a show for the home crowd.
That is a great point that I didn't consider. That is a great point. Get the team. It takes a while to build chemistry, right? Like, you got a preseason, right? You got a preseason now that they didn't have before. Coach Avery talked about that. Like, guys were showing up after the first game in USL League 2 because their schedule didn't allow. So they'd show up for week 2. And there's no time for the team to gel, and they did as well as they did in the lower league. Right now, we move into the professional ranks of USL 1. They have a preseason. They can train together. They can prepare. And before we see them live, they'll have 8 weeks to have gelled as a team, build chemistry, and looking forward to seeing what they can do on the field. Ryan's in the chat saying we'll know the players' names when it's time for the opener. That's true. If we've been watching streaming, we'll definitely know who we're cheering for and who's there. Like, we'll announce the player signings as they come, and you'll hear those, but we'll actually get to see them on the pitch playing and know what positions everybody plays and how they play together. So good shout there, Ryan. That'll be good as we get into the stadium too. So, and there's nothing we can do about it, right? It is what it is. But I think it's going to be a great fan experience waiting till May for that first match. Now, we talked, a few weeks ago, 3 weeks ago now, MLS, maybe we touched on them voting and going to a new schedule in a couple of years here, right? They will be playing up until like mid-December. according to the new schedule change in MLS. So first half of their season will go up to mid-December, which it is 8 degrees outside right now, and it is December 14th. That's going to be crazy. And I'm glad that we don't have to deal with that kind of weather. But March 7th, you never know, which is when the season opens down in Naples. So we'll get to watch from the warmth of our own homes if we're streaming, or if you're traveling to Naples. Awesome.
Here it's beautiful that time of year.
Yeah. I had one more question. I wanted to kind of wrap up the show, and we'll just kind of rapid fire here. As Fort Wayne is beginning to sign players, announcements will be coming out soon. You want to see, them hit on every position, like get the best player at every position that they possibly can, right? And that is a dream that we all hope for. Probably not a reality. So, as players are announced, which player group are you most excited to hear about? The forwards, strikers, the midfield, the defense, the goalkeepers, that you think if we can build a team around this group, if we get it strongest here, it'll set Fort Wayne up for the best success in your eyes moving forward?
Yeah, I think first off, I think we'll end up seeing a lot of not a lot, but several of the players from last year's team back with us. And I know Kaylor touched on it as well, where it's and we even talked about it at the beginning, where Coach Avery came in looking for players that could play at that next level, not the level that they're currently at, right? So I think we'll end up seeing a lot of them. But for me, it's Kaylor mentioned this as well, but it's that spine of the team, right? You build in the middle, build from the back. So I want to make sure that we have 2 really strong center backs and then a strong 6. Right. So we start super defensively. And then as we figure out our finishing as the season goes on, then we can look for those strikers. But for me I always want 2 strong center backs and then a strong 6 that can really control that center of the field.
Yeah, can't disagree with that. I also enjoy a good winger. Having watched Liverpool several years ago where they used to have really good wingers, right? Absolutely. I love that winger who can defend, who can push up, who can cover all that ground and serve balls in.
Yeah, I think, I threw it up there from Smiling Nevada on the chat. Midfielder, super crucial in a 4-3-3. Got to win the midfield, no doubt. Yep. So love the shout of 2 strong center backs. I think if we can shore up the midfield first, having a strong center back, 1-2 strong center backs would be great. But I do think the midfield is where this style of possession play excels. And so we talked last year, if they keep the same style, which I imagine they would, was successful in USL 2, they probably have to make some changes, moving into the professional leagues, as teams will have more time to adjust to the style of play. And they likewise will have more time to develop a style of play with a longer season and a preseason to mess with. Like we talked last year about how they played so well breaking lines. So a center back, I think, is really key, but a center back that can distribute the ball, not just be a wall in the back and, stopping everything that comes by, but a center back that can distribute the ball to the central midfield or even past the central midfield to the forwards, I think is really key for the style that we saw last year. And I think it'll be key for 2026. So I know I was all over the field in my answer. I'm going to go with the midfield. I think needs to be the strongest, but I think in a secondary role, a center back that can distribute well is what I would get really excited about.
Yep. I don't disagree at all.
Yeah. Good. I was right. Oh man, well, this was a fun show tonight, guys. Thanks for being part of it. To Kaylor Hodges and the team at the USL Show, we appreciate you and what you do to keep us and everyone else informed of what's happening around USL League One, USL Championship, USL League 2. Keep doing what you're doing. It really helps us, informs us, and we appreciate you being part of our show tonight. If you are watching, if you're listening later in the week, you got questions for us, you're excited about things that are happening here in Fort Wayne, or you've got questions about how the team, the roster's being built, or USL League One, or anything related to soccer in the Fort Wayne area, we would love to hear from you. You can hit us up here on social media, on Facebook or YouTube in the comments of this video as you see it pop up, or send us an email to info@fortwaynefooty.com. Leave us a message. We would love to get back with you. We would love to hear from you, and we'd love to keep you informed and entertained on all things soccer here in the Fort Wayne area. Thanks for being part of what we do and what Fort Wayne FC and soccer is all about in Fort Wayne. We'll see you next week.